Speaking on his YouTube channel, where he posts lots of videos about his time working on Fallout and industry knowledge at large, Kane says, "Do devs know what gamers want? No. No, we don't know what you want. We have no idea, seriously, what you want." He then goes on to lament the vague criticisms people often give to aspects of games they dislike, such as wanting better enemy AI, better UI, better games overall, and sarcastically says, "I'll just slide the better slider from okay to great on all of those." He wants us to be more specific and explain what the friction point is in a UI we consider bad, rather than just stating it's bad. Hello fellow travelers and welcome to the Hardlight Network. If you've followed my channel for any length of time, you know that I've been playing games for quite a long time now, a little over 20 years. In that time, I've played my share of some pretty amazing titles, and also some that were not so amazing. However, when playing and reviewing these games, I, like many other people, have often focused too much on the negatives. I think it's too easy to fall into the trap of crapping on a bad game rather than offering genuinely positive insights on how to make it better. And to tell you the truth, I've been considering a lot more lately that this sort of mentality is probably a mistake, as when game developers are considering criticisms, rather than focusing on all the negative feedback, they just focus on what makes them the most money. If all of the positive feedback is just superficial and all of the negative feedback is just full of vitriol without any constructive criticism, then why shouldn't the game developers just focus on the money? Well, in today's article, we're going to be covering this topic from the point of view of one of my favorite developers. But before we get into it, guys, do me a solid and hit that like button if you like this video, subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the content that I've got coming up for you guys in the future, and also take to the comment section down below with your thoughts on this issue. Also, if you want to support this channel further, there are super thanks and memberships options down below. Be sure to join the channel today for access to exclusive content and perks that you can't get anywhere else. But without any further ado, let's get into today's article. Today's reading comes to us from Games Radar and is entitled, "Fallout creator Tim Cain says devs don't know what gamers want because, quote, you don't know either. And that's why he used to just make games he and his team liked. You have to tell us what you want, and not what you don't." Tim Cain, the co-creator of the original Fallout game, says devs don't know what you want, but neither do you, apparently. Speaking on his YouTube channel, where he posts lots of videos about his time working on Fallout and industry knowledge at large, Cain says, "Do devs know what gamers want? No. No, we don't know what you want. We have no idea, seriously, what you want. Making video games takes a long time, a lot longer than most movies and books. As such, it's hard to chase popular trends without making a new game feel dated. If Warner Bros. Hadn't patented the Nemesis system from Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor, we might have had a bunch of games come out 5 or 6 years later that all used it. But then we'd all be thinking of a game we played half a decade ago. So while we may know what we like now, we may not like it several years from now." Cain continues, quote, "Here's the longer answer. It can all be summed up as because you don't know either. But you've got to remember that I'm using the collective you. First off, many of you only tell developers what you hate. Great, you said what it is you don't want, but what is it you want?" He then goes on to mention a previous video that we reported on where he details how we can all give devs better feedback. Quote, "But I can just say that when you keep saying, I hate this in games, I hate this feature, I hate these kind of characters and all that, great. What kind of characters do you want? If you hate sarcastic characters, well, guess what? There's an entire realm of non-sarcastic characters. But what is it that you want? Do you want funny characters? Do you want serious characters? Do you want characters with a lot of background? Characters with very little of it? You don't want to spend time in a wall of text dialogue. What do you want? That's why you have to tell us what you want, and not what you don't want." He then goes on to lament the vague criticisms people often give to aspects of games they dislike, such as wanting better enemy AI, better UI, better games overall, and sarcastically says, "I'll just slide the better slider from okay to great on all of those." He wants us to be more specific and explain what the friction point is in a UI we consider bad, rather than just stating it's bad. Then there's the fact that not every game can appeal to each and every one of us. Quote, "What's interesting to me and this channel has really made me acknowledge it. You don't even agree on the fact that all of you are disagreeing. While I love Souls-likes for their challenging combat, many people find it a barrier to their stories. I'd hate for the difficulty to be toned down, but if a Souls-like comes out that does that, I'd just accept it wasn't for me and play something else. Kane covers this too, saying, quote, "One of the things I want to point out is that many of you argue against things that would make a game that even tries to provide more things for more players. And I've talked about how design by committee is bad, which I agree with, and usually that leads to making a game that no one can really have an argument against, but no one really feels like playing it. A perfect example is the original Fallout game. It's got a fantastic atmosphere and gives you a lot of freedom, but it also enforces a strict time limit within which to complete its main story. It's one of the all-time greats, but a lot of people hated that constraint. XCOM 2's turn timer was also massively pushed back against, and there are mods that remove it entirely. So even when we tend to agree a game is wonderful, we can disagree on specific mechanics." Kane wraps up by saying, quote, "I get that you, the individual, want what you, the individual, want. But you have to realize that you, the individual, are not very good at giving developers feedback, and that you, the individual, are not everybody that the game is made for. Game development is hard on its own technically, but this lack of consensus among game players about what they want takes that difficulty to a whole new level. It's that much harder to make a game that you want to be popular, but that you also want to have a lot of sales, because most of you don't know what you want. Those of you who do know what you want are very vague at expressing it, and many of you don't realize that what you want isn't what a lot of other people want. So what's the solution?" Well, Kane says, quote, "This is why for most of my career, I just made what I wanted, what I liked. I hoped that other people would like it, but it was me and my team just trying to make something we'd like that would make each other laugh, make each other have fun." When the marketing team would ask them to help explain what demographic the game was, he didn't know. He'd say, "Why don't you go home and play the game and tell me who would like it?" This is a double-edged sword, though. Quote, "Many of you like my earlier games," Kane says. "Maybe it's because I did make them in a vacuum like that, and I wasn't thinking what other people thought. However, I can tell you my later games sold more copies. So what's the right path? I don't know." And that does it for the written article, guys, but I've got a little bit more that I'd like to discuss on this topic. I think what Tim Kane is describing in this article is the struggle that most creatives go through. Whether you're designing video games, creating YouTube videos, drawing, painting, making music, whatever your art form. As a creator, it seems like you're constantly trying to walk this tightrope between something that will be positively received by your audience and something that's faithful to your vision. Obviously, in a perfect world, those things would be synonymous, but that can't always be the case. Sometimes what's popular or well received just isn't the type of art that you're trying to create. And there's something to be said for the creative maintaining a sense of balance between making money and expressing themselves. However, when it comes to specifically game development from the consumer side of the aisle, I think Tim Kane makes a fair point. If gamers want to see better games in the future, we not only need to stop sinking tons of money into cheap copy and paste slopfest titles and start being more serious about the type of content we want to see in games. I'm sure it's the same for many of you, but I've often dreamed of my perfect video game. I've spent no small amount of time thinking about the game that would be perfect for me. Something that would keep me enthralled for hours and hours on end. Something that I could play well into the future. So in order to take Tim Kane up on his challenge, I'd like to present you guys with what I'd like to see more of in video games. First and foremost, I'd like to see bigger worlds. I've always enjoyed the freedom associated with open world gaming, and the ability to just pick a place on the map and go explore it has always been top tier for me. I would also love to see more character creation in video games. Ways to make these characters truly your own, rather than simply playing as multiple flavors of 2 or 3 archetypes. For example, I'd love to see an RPG where I could sacrifice some of my mage's health stat for more magical power. Or on the flip side, maybe I could completely cut off my barbarian from any magical sensitivity whatsoever to get that much more strength in my hammer. Something that I'd also love to see, which I don't really think has ever been implemented in a game before, would be customizable journal entries. I think it would be awesome awesome if, in addition to the standard quest notes in your character's journal, keeping track of what you've done and when you've done it, you could add your own notes directly to the page. Not only would that make the character more your own, but it could also help you keep track of your personal discoveries during quests. I'd also love to see more games give you your own personal home area, but not just a cookie cutter house with standard decorations and a bed to sleep in, but something you could really customize for yourself. At this point, I think pretty much all of us have cluttered up our Skyrim houses with cabbages and cheese wheels, but I think it would be really cool to actually place items that you find throughout the game in your house as unique decorations. In terms of art style, I'm not really too picky as long as the overall theme of the game is coherent. I'd really just like to see more believable enemy AI in video games. For example, when I'm in a gunfight with a group of raiders, I'd like for them to take more than just a few pot shots from cover before they give up on the gunfight aspect and just bum rush my location, trying to overwhelm me with numbers. Maybe if enemies could try to pin me down with covering fire while some of their melee-oriented friends work around and try to flank me, that would be a cool surprise. And if the game is predominantly centered around melee combat, the enemies shouldn't just sit there and wait patiently to get slaughtered. It should be a no-holds-barred battle that makes me think about how I'm going to dismantle each enemy systematically. A group of multiple enemies should put me on the back foot and make me more careful about engaging with them, and it should feel like a real challenge to overcome them. I'm also a massive fan of just straight up useless but unique collectibles in games. If there's a bunch of shiny rocks, bugs in jars, and different types of flowers that I can pick up throughout my playthrough, you can bet that I'm gathering an entire set. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you so much to everybody who has watched up to this point. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the content that I've got coming up for you guys in the future. And also take to the comment section down below with what you want to see more of in your favorite video games. Of course, we've got a ton more to talk about in the future, guys. So as always, thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, leave a like. And until next time, love you guys. Safe travels.